However, you may be hearing us on some other network, through some other facility like iTunes, whatever. Anyway, no matter how it is you tuned in via your fondle slab of choice or your applicable application, you're equally welcome. Well, Benjamin Fulford was interesting in the first hour, that's for sure. And now, under the file that I call Random Occurrences, Daniel Lewis Crumpton is with me. How you doing, man?
Hey, man. We on the air? Time to do the show?
Yeah, apparently.
I hadn't rolled my joint yet. Can the audience wait just for a little bit?
Well, I can always run my mouth while you roll one. That's fine.
It's okay. I
But,
can multitask. It's cool. Okay, that was great. The last hour was great. So I woke up this morning. Birds were chirping. Vanilla sky outside. Had me a cup of coffee. Had a cigarette. The only thing in the house is the dog looking at me. Went to the store. Kind of had some good tunes and upbeat music playing. And took a walk to the park. Read me a great book, Chippendale's Rescue Rangers, the Missing Egg Crusade. And then it dawned on me that it is. Then it dawned on me that we live in a world where governments lie to us and create false terrorism, so we could set up proxy wars all around the world, and we're all being controlled by a shadowy elite, only defined as they, but with no GPS coordinates to find and stop them. And then I think back on how that affected my day, and I feel pretty good.
Okay.
I'm being facetious. But
yeah.
And the reason I bring it up, man, is last night I was on, I think, Revolution Radio. Another network, sorry. And I was on a show. You had a guest here recently that you kind of brought to the forefront. Her name is Sunshine.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, is that actually a network, or is that a figment of somebody's really poorly planned out imagination? But anyway, go ahead.
I don't know, man. I'll talk to any like-minded person, even if they're a lemonade stand. I don't care. But
yeah, me too. Look, I have been known to go on people's blog talk radio shows where I know there's two people listening, and one of them is the computer in the guy's other room. So it's okay. Yeah, I got it.
I mean, I'm looking for, like-minded folks, but whenever you first brought Sunshine on, I was like, oh, great, it's one of us. It's one of those people who don't believe, who's aware of everything that's been going on. 9/11, false flag, all that good stuff. They know, but they're like you and me, and they want to go past it to, okay, what do? We know the problem. We're aware of the problem. We know that we're not alone, those of us who can see. And where do we need to go from this point on to fix this? Because you got a lot of people out there who don't believe anything can be fixed, and it's all doomed, and humanity is lost, and you know what I mean? And so whenever I heard her come on your show, I was like, great, man, now another voice that is introducing the notion that we can do things to fix the problem. And like Benjamin Fulford, I listened to that, and it was great, because he's clearly, the guy knows what the hell he's talking about. Clearly he's been on the inside. Clearly he's very well educated, and he's very well spoken, and intimately understands these moving parts to this global conspiracy. Okay, but then at the end of it, he did what I was hoping he would do, which is because we always talk about they, the ones out there, but we need to come together, okay, and do something. So he left it, he educated, and then left it with, but, yes, the chips look like they're down, but it doesn't mean that we should be immobilized. We should do something. And I think you and me and a lot of people are like that, where we know that something's wrong, something must be done, something can be done. So we're almost to the finish line, which is what must be done. What must be done?
Right. That is the point now, and that is the thing that I am in search of. Because look, even on a personal level, one could say, well, forget about one. How about I just take it to the personal level? Quite honestly, that I'm in pain every minute of every day.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm challenged by more than one physical difficulty, let's call it.
Sure.
You know that we have both, in fact, faced financial trials that would have made some people probably, eat the end of a 38 already.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With this is what we do.
Yeah.
But
We're called to do it. I mean,
it's what we do. And here's the thing: there's still no way in which I'm going to sit here and say, well, I'm doomed. This is the suffering, and that's all there is. I refuse. I refuse to accept that. And I love Sunshine, not because she's knowledgeable, not because I've never even seen her, so I have no idea what she looks like. But listen to that tone in her voice that absolutely refuses to embrace the darkness.
yeah.
Listen to that. That in and of itself, that very simple idea, man. What can you? I stand back in awe of that.
Right.
I mean, I refuse to accept the dark blanket all the time, but it doesn't mean that I'm not sometimes a bit jaded, a bit tinged the wrong way. But you listen to her speak, and you don't hear any of that. There is no burden of it. I aspire to get to that point. I'm working on it.
No, hey, don't be fooled. And I don't know if she's listening or not. I did let her know I was going to come on and reference her, but a lot of people see me and you that way. They get for a lot of people out there, they hear a small window of us or read a small snippet, and I can't wait till I get to Chuck's level where he's just not fazed by any of this shit. Excuse my language. Sorry, I'm on probation. I'm on Chuck's show. Or I just read a great article that Daniel wrote. I can't wait till I get to that level of enlightenment. Wait a second. You're seeing a very small window. And it's not deceitful, but you're getting a snapshot of our lives. Because don't think that when we turn off the mic or after we publish an article that we don't pull away from that camera that you can see into, and we don't face the same crap that you have to face. Don't think we don't have bills. Don't think we don't worry about how to feed children. I don't have children. I got a dog, but I don't think that we don't have family issues or ups and downs and crises. And one of the things that you said to me one time, whenever you did come to Georgia, we got to meet at a critical point in both of our lives where we were our best, weren't our best, getting to a better place. And you told me, you said, you know what? I'm actually very glad that I met you because I see now that you too can fall apart like everybody else. And I was like, yeah, dude, yeah, exactly, Chuck. Exactly. So
Well, right. We are equally fallible. Everybody is, okay, and everybody is equally fallible. Everybody is equally pained by something or other. But we are also equally capable of the extraordinary. All of us. There is not, just a special. Well, okay, so you're so enlightened. I've heard people say this about others that I know personally, and I laugh. That they're just on this other level. They're beyond,
I'm so
me.
above
They're
you.
beyond.
I'm so ahead of you, and I'm fit and proper, and I live lawfully and legally, and I'm separate, and you guys are doomed, and I'm bouncing my intellectual semen off of you as a wall because I really don't care what you say. I really don't respect you as a person. I believe that everything that I'm saying is really going over your head because I'm so way above you. I'm from a different planet. Want to see my spaceship? No. What now?
It's not Thursday.
Oh, my bad.
Anyway.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Seriously. But
Yes.
to tie it back to Sunshine is,
Sorry,
yeah,
man. I had to laugh. Yeah.
it's okay. We'll get to that.
Okay.
But with Sunshine, it's cool because she is an explosion of energy for people like me and you. Oh, okay. There are new ones. There are new ones coming out that can help carry the load, right? But don't think that she doesn't get drained like we all do. And I think it's um, our job as a team, because I believe that those of us who do have this knowledge, and those of us who understand, metaphysics to any degree, we're on a team, and we have to look out for one another. Now, I don't understand. Well, I do kind of understand it, but for whatever reason, this team is spread across the globe, and we're connected through the internet. And on certain occasions, we come into physical reality with one another, like you and me, and we lift each other up. We edify one another, which is one of my favorite words, man. To edify somebody else, to lift them up. So don't think that like Sunshine isn't going to get drained. And what was a part of the conversation we had on that show last night was she had, she had woken up, she'd had her experience, her awakening, so to speak, and then asked the critical question, "Am I alone?" Found out that she was not. Joined a group of like-minded people, and for a time, like the Bible says, it was good. you know. And
Right.
then something happened. I didn't really get the details because I was real stoned last night. Uh, and it went south, and she was ostracized from the group and kind of kicked out. I don't really get chat rooms. I don't get Skype groups. I don't get any of that crap. But that culture is there. Some people, that's how they interact with other people. That's fine. But she was kicked out of the group, and she was really dealing with it, even though she was in. And I know she's probably listening. She was dealing with it, but she was saying, well, it's not that big of an issue. But when somebody says, "Oh, it's not that big of an issue," but they keep talking about it, it's a big issue
Mm-hmm.
for them.
Right.
They still hadn't processed it. And I said, "Listen, it's like this, okay? Do you know how to ride a bike?" "Yeah, sure." I said, when did you learn how to ride a bike?" "Oh, I don't know, as long as I could remember." I said, do you assume that you probably had training wheels on your bike?" "Yeah." I said, "So think of that group as training wheels. It doesn't mean that you're insane. It doesn't mean that you're alone. You got what you needed from that group knowledge-wise, and you outgrew them. You outgrew them. So keep your head up. You passed a class. Don't get pissed off at the class, all the flunkies that didn't want to do the work. You passed the class. So don't take rejection." Look, and it's like this. I reference the Bible a lot because I'm in the Bible Belt. Jesus Christ or Yeshua, he'd be out there, feeding people with bread and fish and talking to 5,000 people who were tapping their feet, snapping their fingers. This dude is hip as all get out. He preaches one sermon, he's back down to 12. And it happened to him all the time. And at the most critical moment, like the event horizon of this dude's very existence, he is having dinner with his closest homeboys and tells them exactly what is going to happen, to the point where he says the traitor in the room is this motherfucker, this mother humper, mother
Mm-hmm.
fornicator that
Yeah.
that is going to dip the bread in the sop with me. Judas immediately does it, and everybody is still freaking clueless. And then everybody turns their back on him. And I know that we all walk that path, and Sunshine is like that. But the cool thing is that, you know, uh, now there's, if let's just say it was just you and me, Chuck, that knew everything. Now there's three.
Okay.
Now there's three. Once we were
What?
alone, and then we realized we
Mhm.
weren't, and now we're multiplying. So now, as far as we need to be the bridge, and I believe that you are being the bridge. Uh, Gratuitous ego boosting. The bridge between problem and the solution is something that you're actually doing with your show, whether you're aware of it or not. Because you'll have Benjamin Fulford on one night and Sunshine on the next night, and you're not trying to force the bridge, but you are certainly building a bridge, and I don't really know if you're aware of it. Hindsight, you'll look back, not really, because you're a blind bat,
Yeah.
but it'll become
Me.
apparent that that's what you're doing.
Well, I know that there's a transition in progress. Certainly, if I look back on where I've been and and this is good for anybody to do. Uh, when I look back on the first people that were listening to what I was doing, and I was describing with painstaking detail about certain conspiracies and exactly how they worked and historical events and things like that, there were certain people that were fully satisfied by exactly that, just knowing the details of the crimes, right?
Right.
And that's all there was to it.
Yeah.
Um, but when I started to ask, well, what can we do about it outside of revealing it? Let's just say I've revealed every single crime that was ever committed, and I've pointed to every single criminal that ever was. What
Now
do you
what?
do with that information? Now what?
Well,
There's always that now what movement. And I went from that to discussing things that are currently happening and how it is we could examine them differently, sort of try and change the mindset a little bit. And I'm still working on that one, right?
uh-huh.
Um, And meanwhile, this is a large mosaic, really, this body of work that I put together
Okay,
that does that, right?
right.
And has gone from point to point to point. Go ahead.
So okay, and I'm the same as you. I'm in information finding mode. Okay.
Right.
I'm listening to, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have any, all the answers. I got pieces to a puzzle, dude. Other people do too. Stop trying to bash each other over the head, unless you're like a cult leader douchebag, all right? And let's put our pieces together. And so I was on this show last night, and I explained to him because I think Sunshine knew who I was, but the host didn't. And I was explaining to him a little bit about who I am and what I do, and giving him my novel and website and stuff like that. And we went overtime because I felt like I was amongst kindred spirits. Okay, that
Okay.
we were having a super secret meeting, in a language that is reserved for those who have their third eye open. To be blunt. But we went 5 hours last night, the three of us, and the host Tony Tompkins, I believe. I might be messing his name up. I'm sorry if I am.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant guy. This guy was so brilliant. He was so well timed in his thoughts and how he delivered them, and his sense of humor. You would just love it. He was like a submarine. you know, he would
Okay.
just pop up and shoot a missile of humor at you, and it would be brilliant. And we were talking about what do we do now. And he said, look, he's the same mindset. He was familiar with the term Gnostic, and what Gnosis actually is, and has a very good grasp of it, and is probably. I'll talk about him later. But one of the things he said, look, I have an idea. You could take it, you could leave it, but it's an idea, and it might be a part of the bigger solution. And so I was like, okay, what's your idea? I'm not married to any idea. I don't believe that there's one. It's death by a thousand cuts. And he said, well, he says, look, your cell phones connect to one another, right? Yeah. Well, what's
Mm-hmm.
the point? What's the point of the towers? And I was like, okay. He says, the towers are how they charge you, data services and stuff. He says, but cell phones can connect to each other. And so he was coming up, he's like, I'm not an engineer, I'm not this or that, but just me as whoever. I think that if we got rid of the towers as us, the ones who want to change things, and told the system, whoever they are, okay, that it's our communication and you can't have it. He says that one little thing, and then of course he went on for 2 hours to explain the intricate details of how this would change the morphic field in a certain area, which is communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about, which I'm not too sold on, but I see where he's coming from, and and others too, that we should have a global society where everybody has a cell phone, and every cell phone counts as one vote, and issue by issue, everybody votes. That sounds great if you have an enlightened society, but then again, we don't want mob rule, right? So, but it's a workable idea. It's a step in a direction away from well, we're all screwed. uh Humanity is, there's two people listening because humanity is just, ignorant, and I'm just talking so I could hear myself, so I could pat myself on the back for pretending that I actually am the sole proprietor of information that anybody can access. Okay, you don't want to be that
Well,
asshole.
no, no. Listen, and you know what's interesting about this to me is that I view the internet the same way. It is a great thing when you discover it. You have the ability now to all at the same time on all points of whatever shape you think this planet is, view something. You have the ability to share something. Now, the quality of what you choose to share and who you are sharing it with
Right.
is completely up to you. It is a great communication device. It's not the answer, though. It's a tool.
It's a tool.
Just like the cell phones can be a tool, just like you, in fact, can be, well, a tool. Not trying to insult. Well, anyway, but
Bada bing.
you, bada bing, you are a tool. Okay, everything is a tool. Yes, I said it again. Okay, and
He referenced the phallus. It's funny.
what? Yes, I did. What we and I'm not even Donald Trump. So what we did is get to an understanding here and get to the ability to communicate with one another. That's step one. Now, articulating things that are going to make a difference, that's a couple steps away because we got to get some clarity first, I think. And this is what the process has now become. So just like the internet has evolved into all sorts of different things,
She's awake.
I now.
Come on, let's just deal with it. The internet is self-aware.
Oh no,
Just
I agree. Yeah,
okay.
the internet itself is self-aware. True, I think Facebook is its younger sister, but no, because
Slut.
I think yeah, definitely. But it seems to me as though we're now dealing with a different entity which has changed the rules. There is the possibility, like if I told you in the 1970s that that we could all witness something, some people in Australia, some people in England, some people in the United States, all at the same time, we could actually witness one particular event in a small room in Russia at the
Right.
same time, you would lock me up,
Yeah.
right? So, but nowadays, think about it. Just with the little crap toys we have, like Skype and
Mhm.
and streaming software and things like that, it
Mhm.
can be done.
Absolutely
And
can be done.
yeah, so these things have evolved, and we need to also evolve. And if we don't, well, this I think is the thing that's going to kill us a lot quicker than they, them, the spraying and
Mhm.
everything else. Okay, the
Mhm.
vaccines, the water, the fluoride. What's going to kill us more than anything is our stunted growth as a species.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. But then again, I've only got puzzle pieces myself.
Okay. Well, this is just me thinking. I'm going to bounce some ideas off of you. Okay.
Sure.
Whenever you're at the phase where you're in prepubescent uh, orgasm mode of information, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, I
when
got.
you want to say, "Oh my God, none of it was an inside job. All wars are fake. Money's not real." Okay, that when you're there in that level before you grow up a little bit.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just need to jump on any piece of tail that'll sit still long enough. Yeah, I got you. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and you'll ride that pony. Okay, when you grow
Oh,
out of
absolutely.
that, when you grow out of that,
Mhm.
um, uh, and you get into the upper levels, and I don't want to sound condescending because I hate that shit, but look, life and experience in the universe is like a ladder. All right, there are some people who are above you that are there to guide you and be rungs for you to evolve. There are inevitably going to be people who are beneath you. That does not mean they are inferior. Okay, I don't look at a 2-year-old toddler and think that's inferior. I just think he hasn't had the enough experience to walk stably. So I don't want to be the prick that comes along and kicks it or throws a ball at it, but help it walk. So that's what we have to start looking at. But
Mhm.
the host last night, he made a wonderful statement, and it really struck a chord with me. I did a lot of listening last night to this guy because if I come across somebody with some wisdom, I'll shut my mouth. But he said, "Look, man, it's about," and I'm gonna butcher this because he said it so eloquently. He said, "Life is about being either a lion or a horse." Okay, and then he elaborated and he said, you look at a horse, man. Every day is a sunny day. They're free. They eat and they just kind of enjoy um, life day by day. He says
Okay.
a lion has to exert so much energy just to get its food for the day. He said some people are lions in life. They're hunters, you know, and they could be vegetarian, if they just, or whatever. They could be like the horse, and we're told by scriptures that at one point that's the way it was and will be again. All the animals got along and whatnot. And so when he said that, I was like, okay, yeah, I understand. And I guess I used to be, when I was a younger activist and everything, like a lion, whereas I would exert a lot of energy going to protests, going to rallies, writing certain people with certain titles. You know what I mean? Getting arrested, things like that, because I was hunting um, freedom for everybody else. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Mhm. Well, you know what it does? It leads me directly to one of my favorite African proverbs about, how does one eat an elephant? Because if you look at it, there's this giant thing
Hmm.
that, what, you're going to consume that. It almost seems laughable. But when the wise man is asked, how does one eat an elephant in a mocking fashion, he states, quite honestly, one bite at a time.
Hmm.
And now you're wondering how it is I'm relating this to the story. The fact is that some of us are choosing to eat elephants and some of us are choosing to eat grass. And I don't think that there's any incorrect way to do it,
Hmm.
so long as we are continuing in the cycle and we are moving forward, actually living.
Hmm.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, and see, so just living, living in a harmonious type way, because I believe that a lot of the change is going to be up to the older, wiser, and I'm not talking about chronological age. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Wiser, older, more conscious entities, people who are a little bit more aware, to stop for a second and realize and go, okay, wait a second, all right, how do we actually change the world with very few people or minds and resources? Well, wait a second. We always talk about they. They send us to war. They have us on fiat currency. They have us on all these chemicals. But let's examine they. Well, we know a few things that we agree on. It's a few of them. It's a family, or they're closely related, and money is absolutely positively no object to these people. They realize the laughability of money, physical, tangible, or digital money, actually having any power in and of itself.
Right.
Money is only powered by consciousness. It's only powered by how much uh, attention people pay it. Okay? If I take $1,000 bill to Zimbabwe and go out or Africa into the jungle, all right, and walk up into a tribe and throw down $1,000 bill and then say, all of you people, all of your women are now mine, and then go to grab the first woman, what the hell's going to happen to me?
Well, your head will wind up on a pike pretty quick
Why? Why? I
because
just threw the most powerful object in the world at their feet.
see, but you didn't. And here's something I don't want to miss in this discussion. Their model, the they model, it works. Okay, it does work, but the inverse works as well. See, if we become the larger family,
Hmm.
if we control the currency, and I don't mean a monetary instrument, if we control the currency, the exchange, if we are the ones who decide what is recognizable as the currency, and we outnumber the they,
Hmm.
game over.
Game over. That
Why
simple.
is that not taken into account by all these people that want to scream about doomsday, man?
Well, see, that's why I preface that, Chuck, by saying that it's people like you, me, Sunshine, and there are many others. It's our responsibility to do metaphysical work, okay? In order to bring this more about. Like, for example, last night when we were talking about the government, Trump, okay? The whole idea Trump's in the White House, right? Dude, honestly, with just a couple of well-timed tweets, if you got enough consciousness to actually tune in to, say, The Young and the Restless tomorrow, Victor frickin' Newman would actually be the ruler of the free world. If everybody, let's say we could flip a switch and say, everybody, what you're seeing on The Young and the Restless is actually your world's government. If we could do that, if we could mind wipe everybody overnight in their sleep to wake up the next day and believe that the real power lies at Victor Newman's feet, that's the world that's going to be created. So, how this is just me, I'm spitballing here, is I'm not saying being apathetic, I'm not saying be ignorant, but stop paying them so much goddamn attention.
Mm. No, and I understand that. The problem is that so many people have invested their own identities into something that is not even close to tangible, which is way less tangible than the dollar bills that they put in their pockets, which are a representation of something. I mean, they literally don't even have a representation that they can rub between their fingers here. And they vest their entire identities into it. You know, this is why I brought up the concept of race recently and explained it the way I did. Because if that paradigm were to disappear, a whole lot of problems would disappear. Then you get rid of this other part of the paradigm, which is about domination, control over others. I don't wish to control anybody. I don't wish to be controlled. Now, if you literally really took that out at its root, tell me what problem on the planet wouldn't be solved instantaneously.
Yeah.
You know, and here we go. It doesn't matter which celebrity guy they've installed in the White House that they've sold to you and packaged, you know, like it was a bag of chips. It's really irrelevant. Tell me what happens if you can make that change become effective en masse.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's just separate. It's walls of separation. It's
Right.
that's how they really control. It's separate walling off. Uh, you know, me and you both know everything is one. There is only one thing, really, and we're all a part of it. We're all moving throughout it, and we all embody different aspects of it. You know, you can call it the quantum field or whatever, but we're all one. We're different aspects of whatever that thing is, right? And so, rather than approach people or institutions or ideas as something separate from ourselves. I'm white, you're black, you know, I'm Christian, you're a Jew. You know what I mean? I'm left, I'm right. Rather than be apprehensive about communicating or interacting with that which uh, is not quite like us, and becoming like an investigator and finding out about them, what they believe, why they believe it, what experiences brought them there, then we really do start to understand ourselves more. You know,
Right.
uh, so uh, the idea of race. I think we talked about this last time. To me, in 2017, man, Lil Wayne. I like all music, so you'll hear me speak one way and then reference like hip hop or Southern country. Just. But Lil Wayne is basically setting an example where, and he's been getting a lot of slack for it. But when he's asked about racism from say BET, Lil Wayne will say racism doesn't exist. Right? He just outright says there is no racism.
Mm.
Okay? And people look at him, they got pissed. Well, how dare you say that? There's racism all the time. And he's like, but he's setting an example, in my opinion. I could be wrong. That, no, you don't understand. I'm not even going to allow that concept into my experience or my consciousness. For me, racism doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
But you know why it's so offensive to so many? Because it disturbs this false sense of identity. Here we go. Again, you're talking about how we're all part of the same expression.
Mm-hmm.
We're all, universally intertwined one way or another. It challenges this, for the most part, self-imposed compartmentalization
Mm-hmm.
based on the prescription of the they, the them, the controllers, because really, when you're born and you're coming up, you're growing.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of separation is something that has to be taught to you.
Yeah.
Right? And it
Yeah.
is taught one way or another. You know why? Because you're a Christian, so therefore there are others that are not like you. You are a white guy, which, by the way, there are no white people. I don't know anybody. I've seen albinos, and they're not white either.
Yeah. Right.
But either way, white people, fine. You're a white guy, okay? Because I'm just going to use you as the example, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
You're a white guy. That's what they would call you. So therefore, there are darker people that are different from you. They are more dangerous than you, or maybe on the other side, they've been oppressed by people who looked like you, even though it happened generations ago. So you need to be wary one way or another, right? Either way, separation. These are people who don't speak the same language as you. These are people who don't live in your nation. See how it all goes back to you, your,
Mm-hmm.
what is yours, and all of it is an illusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's just one of those things that I always have trouble calculating how it is that people so readily embrace that which separates them from their fellow man as a constant. I can understand fear to some degree. I don't practice it. It's not part of my religion, but I can understand it a bit. There have been times I've been fearful in my life, and it's usually because I'm ignorant of circumstances.
Hmm.
My biggest fears are about the unknown, or at least they were at one time. Nowadays, whether I know about it or not, fear is just not part of the equation. So a lot of these problems go away the second that I don't embrace that and retreat into this prescribed identity given to me by social constructs, given to me by the contracts, given to me by the mistakes of the past.
Right.
And that is the glass ceiling really here.
Hmm.
Because if you stop with that, it all goes away. Again, you have no reason to dominate others that are no different from you, do you?
Yeah,
You
and
have no reason to be on a higher level because there's, I got to achieve something. I have to have more of something. I have to make sure that others have less of something. If all that goes away, there is no war, there is no death, there is no rape, there is no anything that comes about unnaturally that horrifies everyone absolutely evaporates without. So why is it that this is not being discussed? I wonder all the time.
well, you're coming in and out a little bit, Chuck, but I'm going to try to commentate there on what you said. And
You
it's
do.
funny, it's synchronistic too because we were talking about fear last night, and and when I say things, anybody who's listening, I'm not. I don't believe in absolute absolutes. I'm just saying what I've learned from my experience, and you can take it or you can leave it. I'm not building a church, okay? I don't want to start a religion, so I just speak from my own experience. But we were talking about fear and what is fear, and we had different opinions. But what I said last night, I've said before. I think probably even on your show. To me, what fear is like a light on the dashboard of your car to let you know to be aware of something. Like, when your oil's low or your gas is low, a light will come on.
Mm.
Fear, in my experience, is a warning light that basically says, stop and look at the foundation, the bricks of the foundation of your own psychology. And what fear is telling me to stop, examine the foundation of my psychology, because if fear pops up, somewhere in that foundation is something false that's not true, and that's what
Right.
fear is. For me, to make me stop and go, oh, wait a second, something that I believe isn't true, and so we'll take it to the farthest extreme. Two of the greatest fears: public speaking and death. Okay, well, whenever you're afraid of death, it means that something that you believe about death is not true. Okay, so then when you open your third eye or whatever process, you have an awakening, whatever it is, once you step across the veil, those who have know what I'm talking about, and you do too, and you
Mm.
realize that there is no such thing as death. It doesn't exist. It's not real. It's only a doorway. Consciousness continues, and it continues to evolve, and it doesn't, over time lose its identity. You don't go into oblivion. Death doesn't exist. So when you go, oh wait, death doesn't exist, so why fear death? And then you get in there, you pull that brick from the foundation of your psychology out and
Right.
replace it with the brick that says you're eternal, immortal, never ending, and always expanding. Then whatever it was that you were so afraid of suddenly exhilarates you.
Well,
But I
see,
could be wrong.
no, look, and all of us could be wrong about everything. How about that, right? All of these, just your experiences may vary. How about that? But really, it seems to me as though you're correct when it comes to the concept of death. Um, and you and I had a deep personal conversation once, which I'm going to reference here,
Hmm.
and you can take this and run with it if you like.
Sure.
But I told you once why it is I cannot stand being called Charles,
Hmm.
right? You know what I'm talking about here?
Uh, Elaborate. I remember the discussion, but elaborate, lead the witness, if you will.
Sure. I prefer nowadays that people call me Chuck, and I have preferred that since an early age. And the reason is that I equate that name
Hmm.
to early childhood.
Hmm.
And as far as I'm concerned, Charles, that you're
Because he
trying to address,
is dead.
is already dead.
He's dead.
And this is part of the trajectory of my life. That'll continue on. I may have to adopt a new name again at some point because maybe Chuck will be dead too.
Hmm.
Right? But for now, it works. I know it's only a mild variation on the name, but it's something that I feel strongly about. And that's what my odd reaction to that is. It's not, I mean, I make the joke, unless you're a cop or a bill collector, you don't call me Charles.
Right.
But it's true, and that is exactly what is being done there, and we don't have to get deeply into that. But the truth is that is a name
No,
which is utilized to collect off of a dead man,
no,
as far as I'm concerned.
no.
And yeah,
I do want to go into detail on that because me and you rarely ever crack open that Pandora's box on the air. But when, and I'll just speak for myself, and of course, some people at this point are going to turn you off, think you're crazy or whatever, but I'll accept the responsibility for that. When,
no problem. By the way, that's always an option. If you think I'm nuts, I mean, you can feel free to tune to something else. Have
yeah,
fun. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean, you're a free moral agent, but when
Mhm.
I also have, every scripture talks about a name change when a great spiritual experience happens, okay? Abram becomes Abraham. You know, everybody has a name change that in any faith that you look at, right? And and the Kabbalah teaches when you change your name, you change your fate. You whatever name you were given is the embodiment of your ego. Whenever you go through a traumatic, this is just from my experience. When you go through a traumatic experience that is a near death experience, um, I actually believe that it's not a near death experience. You actually did die, okay? But your consciousness reconstructed a reality where the bullet just barely missed and you keep going, okay? So when I
Right.
say, whatever it is on my birth certificate, that name is actually a dead man. And it's also weird, and I'm writing about this right now, is you literally are not the same person, but there are people who knew you, and since me and you were in the same physical social circle, you know what I'm talking about. You know me as Daniel, but other people call me by another name.
Right.
And when you're looking through, say, my eyes or your eyes, and you see these people calling you by that dead person's name, it's a weird experience because you're thinking to yourself, you poor soul, do you not realize that I am not that person? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That person had actually died, and this consciousness that is me, that ultimately is nameless, is not the person that you see looking at you, this physical skin suit. you know so when I say death, I mean literally dying, but experiencing it as nothing more than a doorway. So I want to ask you if that would be your interpretation of death when you say Charles is a dead guy and Chuck is what's here now. Do you Are you saying that's literally death? That Charles is actually dead in whatever plane of existence?
Well, it's a yes and no, right? Because the core consciousness that was there has continued.
Hmm.
But the embodiment that was is gone. So it sounds like I'm answering out of both sides of my mouth, but I don't think so. I could, and we're not going to have enough time to really deeply elaborate here,
Hmm.
but let me put it to you this way. I have had experiences where there is no reasonable logic in a standard sense.
Okay,
Uh,
look, you got to tell them about the shooting. Tell them about that because that's what I'm fishing for.
okay? I'll reveal that. Sure.
If you don't
I
mind.
was not a problem. I was a kid and I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing. We'll put it that way in short. And I was confronted by someone who had placed a firearm at my head
Hmm.
and threatened to pull a trigger, to squeeze a trigger, whatever you want to say. And to my memory, that's exactly what happened. Um, However, I'm still here talking to you, aren't I?
Right.
All right. Now that experience was strange. There's a lot of details to it. I can tell you that I heard a sound unlike any sound I've ever heard. I can tell you that time seemed to shift a bit, and I can tell you that that I walked away.
Hmm.
Uh, and the people around me seemed quite bewildered by the experience, as was I. But no one will be able to give me a good logical explanation
All right.
for
Now
my memory.
let me ask you this: shortly after that event, did you have a feeling that something wasn't quite right? And tell everybody what happened to your social circle, the individuals that you were socializing with. What happened to those people after that event?
For the most part, they just sort of disappeared. Very few people that were there previous to that persisted in my life after.
They just drifted
Uh,
away, right?
they just seem to drift away for for varying reasons, really, without a good, solid, uh, easily identifiable cause. They just sort of.
Training wheels. Now,
There you go. There you
okay,
go. And I got to tell you that my social circles have changed like that before when there's been events.
okay.
Uh,
Look, stop. Tell them about the time you got struck by lightning, because I love that story.
well, that's something that, I can't definitively say that that's what happened. I am told that that's what it looked like.
Tell them.
Uh,
Tell the story.
Okay, well, a few minutes left here, so why not? I'm running across a field with no shoes on. The field is a couple of inches deep with water. It's just grass and dirt, and it's in the middle of a rainy lightning situation, so one can picture it. It's basically an open field. Therefore, I am one of the tallest objects there. You know the concept about lightning striking the thing that sticks up the highest?
Mhm.
Well, there I am in a flat field, and lightning did hit the ground, and I was suddenly stunned, wound up on my back, sliding in that water.
Mhm.
Okay, um, and people had witnessed this and swore that I was probably just killed by a lightning strike. Um, and there's a lot more detail to it.
About what age were
Yeah.
you?
Well, that was let's see, I think I was 13 at that
13.
time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, real quick, tell them about, and if you don't mind, your buddy getting hit. Your buddy's getting hit by the car and it barely missing you.
Oh, well, that was earlier in life. But we were on bicycles and we were near a busy highway, and a drunk driver jumped up on the curb, and I'm in the middle of a conversation with a slightly older friend of mine who's on a bicycle standing next to me, and the next thing I know is he's gone. Really, I did not even process what happened. I remember feeling the movement of the air next to me, and he was gone. He was killed directly. Everybody knew that. Um, but again, I'm standing there kind of stunned with something that, a vehicle, a moving vehicle that was suddenly out of control had missed me by, a couple of inches.
Hmm.
Best one could figure based on the fact that I'm still breathing.
And
Um,
and the reason I'm asking you to describe all that is, over time, did you start to, after you had all these quote near death experiences where inches or seconds made the difference, and then your entire reality changed? Okay, that seems to happen repetitiously in a lot of people's lives. My
well,
suggestion is
yeah,
that,
over and over again. Actually, over and over again. Each time, it would be followed by very serious changes in. Well, usually my location would change, where I was living. All of the people that were part of my daily life would depart one way or another. Not like with the snap of the fingers or in the blink of an eye, but in really quick succession. They would disappear, drift away, like you were saying. Drifting away is a good way to put it. But that always seemed to happen immediately after one of
well,
these, you
this
shouldn't have lived situations. Yeah.
this is what I would suggest, that those moments in our lives are what we know as death. And if you tie those experiences of your life to, say, what Shakespeare said, which is all the world is a stage and we're merely players, those events would be in between acts. You remember, if you've ever been to go see a play, in between acts or scenes, when the scenery needed to change or the actors needed to be reshuffled, what would happen? The curtain would close.
The curtain closes, the lights go down,
And then
and the work
everything
gets done.
changes. And then what
Yeah.
happens? After the new set is set up, all the new actors are in the costume. What happens then?
The play continues.
The curtains open, the lights come back on, and the play continues. And my suggestion is that death, quote unquote, or traumatic events, near-death experiences, are actually death, and death is actually just a curtain. And, you know, when you realize this and you go, oh, so this is like a video game? Because what happens in a video game whenever you fall off a cliff or get shot? Reset, yes or no? You could either say yes, and then with your collective memories of how you screwed up, do it right this time, or you could say, I don't want to play this game anymore, hit eject and pop another game in.
Mm. That is
that's just
yeah, no. Look, that's not just you, I'm sure, but it's definitely a new way to look at it. And I'll tell you something. We're almost out of time.
You want to plug some shit?
I was just thinking we should probably do that on our way out the door. Of course, DLC, Daniel Lewis Crumpton. Well, DLC can stand for something else. Why don't you tell them about it?
Oh, my home website now is downloadedcontent.com. That's where I'm based out of, and it's serial novels, articles. Just you'd have to go to the about page because it's like me. It's an eclectic website. Right, or the 15th of this month, I'll be launching the podcast. And let's see, yeah, the podcast is coming out on the 15th. I think Nutshell's coming out on the 14th, which you could talk about that. But if anybody wants to find me, go to downloadedcontent.com and just be schizophrenic for a while. You can go pick up my novel, Then Came the Flood, Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, booksamillion.com, all that good stuff. That's, go ahead and get me some dinner by buying a cool book. So that's where you can find me, downloadedcontent.com.
Right, and actually I participated in some of the podcasts that are going to be released through downloadedcontent.com. Nutshell is the full-length documentary, which we're probably going to have to talk about a little more because, yeah, that's going to be released in, just about a little less than a week now. That's going to be out there for everybody to see. Of course, advanced viewings have been done by others. I finally got to see it, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that on the show yet. I think I did. But I finally got to see it. It's a little uncomfortable because it kind of focuses on what it is I do and why, and there's a lot of me talking in it. And truthfully, I can't listen to my own shows, so it's an odd experience to see an hour's worth of viewing devoted to your own vision because I wasn't the one who created it. I participated in it in that I'm on camera, but other than that, this was dreamt up and done, just like the credits say. Right?
I mean, I put it together, but it was you. I mean, it's you. I put it together. Might want to talk to you about release date after we get off the air, because I'm a perfectionist, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be cool because, basically, it's going to let people who listen to you and support you see you the way that I see you, which is when the microphone is off.
Although there are a couple of clips with me on the microphone. Anyway, we have completely run out of time. Benjamin Fulford was my guest in the first hour. Daniel Lewis Crumpton, who is going to be a lot more regularly on the show, folks, along with Mike Swanson, who has agreed to be regular on the show as well. Things are changing. We're definitely going in new directions, and I am not satisfied with just telling you about the darkness. Let's solve some stuff. How about that? There we go.
The champions, my friend.
Downloaded Content Podcast. out.